What is going on, Dominators? Dave Dominator here, and I wasn't about to make this video until I keep going on Twitter. Now, if anybody knows me, I am mainly on Twitter. I use 3 apps all day, every day, but I use 2. They're all for different reasons. Snapchat I use to communicate with my best friend. I use Instagram for highlights, other stuff, look for shit like that. I use Twitter and go on Twitter every single day a lot. And today I wake up to the news that there was a man carted off the field in practice, and that man was oh my gosh, I'm just a Jalen Hurts. Jeez Louise. I can't even think. Jalen Ramsey. Jeez Louise, I couldn't think of his name. And I was like, okay, that's okay. You know, we've seen this before, you know, but like we don't know the full problem with the injury that I have seen right now. I have not seen anything crazy. But then Joe Burrow, just an hour ago, probably an hour ago, there's been videos and updates since then. Joe Burrow went down with an injury, non-contact injury, and I think every fan of the Bengals, every fantasy person who had Joe at the top of the list, took a big loss here. Are both probably breathing with a sign of relief. They said that this is not a big injury. It was just a calf sprain. Now, like I said, I want to bring more sports stuff into this, so I wasn't about to make this a video, but this is not the first person. Garrett Wilson also went down with an injury today. I believe he walked off the field, wasn't carted off, but went straight to the locker room. We've been seeing more and more guys get hurt, and I don't know why that is. Like, we've already seen a guy out for the year because of a jet ski incident. Now, that is just a freak accident, and God forbid, hopefully that never happens to anybody ever. But, like, and there's problems with that going on between him and the Bills, stuff like that. But this is ridiculous, you know. This is the time of year where we expect slight injuries to happen. Like, this is where you expect a lot of cramps to happen. Like, this is from here until, like, pretty much the whole season. But from here, preseason, and about week 4 is when a lot of the cramps will start taking effect. And that's something you have to look at during the games and everything like that. But this Joe Burrow incident we're about to show you, this was scary. Now, as a Steelers fan, you know, you want to root against the Bengals. You want to root against the Browns, Ravens. You want to do that whenever you're supporting your team. Everyone in your division is your rival. That's how it is for hockey, basketball, every sport. I am still a human being, and I love the sport of football. I love all sports. Well, most. But when it comes to people getting hurt, I hate to see it. This was scary. Now, we're going to watch this. Joe Burrow's right here, obviously. Watch how this goes. Everything seems normal. Everything seems fine until he starts running right here. And he was carted off the field. Now, luckily, when I first watched the video, he wasn't holding his knee. So initially I was like, okay, it's not a torn ACL. That's in my mind. I'm not a doctor, but when I see guys hold certain parts of their body, that's how you know what's going to hurt. And he wasn't holding his bottom. He was literally holding the center of his leg, which means it was a calf. But the way, if it was an Achilles, he would have aimed lower down his leg. So luckily, he's rubbing his calf, and it was right now just labeled as a calf strain. But this is also an interesting situation because people have already said, I haven't seen too much on it, but they're basically saying preseason's pretty much out of the question for Joe Burrow. And that's pretty much that. Like, no preseason, and what does the rest of camp look like for him? Does he continue to throw in camp, just maybe less mobile, or is he completely done? Luckily, he seems okay, so that's a good sign. We got to be careful though with some other stuff going on with players. There's nothing to it because this isn't a case scenario where people could be like, "Oh well, it's the practice fields. It's the practice fields." Like, it can't be the practice fields. Um, you just have to be lucky and grateful as a Bengals fan that Joe didn't go down with an ACL injury. Personally, I feel like if he goes through another ACL injury, that's it. Like, I don't think that's like, now I'm not saying that okay, that's it, his career's over. I'm saying that your season's over and we have to talk and consider that this could affect him long term. Multiple knee injuries are not good, especially the same kind. An injury of any sort repeatedly is not good. Concussions aren't good when you get them multiple times. When you break your arm multiple times, it's not good. When you hurt your elbow, if you have to have Tommy John surgery like twice, like that's not good. Like you can't have multiple surgeries and not expect it to wear you down. Now, luckily, we could it's his calf and it's okay right now. But the Bengals could have been in deep trouble if Joe Burrow wasn't playing. Now, what does this mean for the Dolphins, who just possibly lost their number one cornerback? I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins are going to be in a similar spot last year, but I think with a little less, hopefully a little less drama. Hopefully Tua stays healthy because he's another guy who you got to be careful because if he has another bad concussion, he had like 3 last year. If he has another concussion, that could be it. He contemplated retirement. He said that. He contemplated retirement. And you can't blame him. Like, you got to look out for yourself, your family. I believe he has a child. You got to be careful with that stuff. And, hopefully everyone else isn't getting injured. Like, fingers crossed nobody else is getting season-ending injuries. And hopefully some of these are just, just minor tweaks and minor pains like cramps and stuff, and let's just hope for no more injuries. I know people are losing their minds already because we've already seen 2 different injuries. We've seen major injuries throughout camp only started Tuesday? It's Thursday. Like, camp, everyone reported to camp on Tuesday. I think actual training camp started yesterday. So the fact that players and everyone is going nuts about this, it's just so scary to me. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it like this ridiculous. So hopefully Joe comes back soon and he's good and he's healthy. Same with everyone else. But what are people going to do this offseason to maybe think about not hurting? Because these are all going to be stories even if they do come back. Like, they're going to talk about Joe Burrow's injury for probably the entire season. So if he gets hurt again, they're going to bring it up and use it as an excuse. And I'm not saying like that as like a bad thing, like an excuse. Like, they're going to just say like, oh, well, he had an injury during the early in the year. They're going to make that a big deal. And because it is. So I don't know what NFL does from here. You can't make this hell. This is a situation where it's just bad luck. You can't change rules. You can't change regulations. You can't change fields. You can't change the way you've already protected players by putting those bubble helmets on them. You've done all you can. Now you just have to hope that the players do not make mistakes. And hopefully their bodies can keep up. Sometimes people work too hard and their bodies just start to go, crumble over time. But Joe must have just tweaked something that we're not, he's not used to. Maybe he just didn't work out something. We don't know. But let's hope for no more major injuries. Like preseason is on the horizon, which you guys, that's something people need to also understand. Preseason's going to be the worst time for cramps and for people to holding their legs and everything. So don't be freaked out if someone goes down during preseason games, because most of the time they're just cramps. When people move to different humidities and everything else during this time too, that will affect their their bodies and stuff like that. Once again, I'm not a doctor, but it's not that hard to know about this stuff, and you always got to be careful because like that. I could notice, I've watched football and hockey and all these other sports, and when something happens, I can normally tell what injury is what. Now hockey's hard because people play through broken everything, but like football, you can know right away. If they're holding their arm, it's their arm, but most of the time their leg. If they're holding their knee, it's more likely a torn ACL, and that it's just shitty for the person that just happened to. So let's hope for no more injuries. I will start making videos more frequently on football because hockey still got a little bit time left, and we might make content on that. But right now we're gonna stick with football as a time being, because football is like the main thing that's easy to make videos on because it's not as less complicated, I guess. But yeah, we'll focus on rookies, and I'm gonna make a list of rookies that I kind of want to keep a close eye on with every team to see who's gonna have a big impact. I know for the Lions, I have a few guys I want to see. Steelers, I want to see a lot of their guys, most of their guys. Everyone's gonna be interesting to see. So if you want to keep in touch with me on the season, if you want to communicate with me, follow everything down below. We can have great discussions. We could have live shows on Twitch where I talk a lot of sports, especially if somebody comes in and communicates with me, like, let's talk about it. And then, we'll make videos on YouTube and stuff. So if anybody wants to help with that, if we want to get it, I would love to get a crew. Like, I would like to make some good friends that are sports fans, also with YouTube channels that are smaller. We can make like a full-fledged podcast or something that I think that would be cool. Have more discussions. I think that'd be sick. But let's hope and pray nobody else gets hurt. And we can at least make it to preseason without any major injury. Because I believe right now nobody else has been declared out besides Hines. So we have to see how that rolls. But, I'm saying that, but we have from now until the Hall of Fame game is a week from now. So that's something to think about. And then we have from now, from the Hall of Fame game for just 2 teams to like that next Thursday. So we're going to probably have a few more scares, hopefully not major injuries, but if there are, we'll talk about them and see how that can affect their team and their season possibly. So that's going to be it for me. Like this video if you liked it. Comment down below if you've gotten freaked out about some of this stuff. And let's see what happens, because this season's already going to be a wild one. And we haven't even played a preseason game yet. Whew, this is going to be an interesting season, to say the least.